Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Saturday, January 17, 2026. Today, we are looking at a world that has kind of shifted beneath our feet, or maybe I should say slithered, climbed, and burrowed. We are talking about the exotic pet market. And I know what you're thinking. You're picturing, that eccentric neighbor from the 90s with a python in a bathtub.
Right.
But the sources we have today show a completely different picture.
Right.
This isn't some fringe hobby anymore. It's a massive, almost industrialized ecosystem.
It really is. The shift is undeniable, and the numbers are just staggering.
Yeah.
If you look at the market data we have for early 2026, the global valuation is sitting at, around $16.39 billion.
Wow.
That's a massive amount of capital flowing into what used to be a really niche interest.
And that dollar amount isn't even the most interesting part, is it?
Not at all. It's the demographic shift that's driving it.
Yeah.
We aren't seeing the traditional collector profile anymore. We're seeing this huge surge among Gen Z.
That stood out to me immediately. The data shows Gen Z household participation in exotic ownership jumped 43.5% year over year.
Which is just a massive spike.
It feels like we've moved way past the days of the nuclear family pet being just a golden retriever or, a tabby cat.
Yep.
Why the shift?
Well, the sources point to a desire for uniqueness, a deeper connection to nature, but they also use a very specific phrase, the professionalization of the hobby.
Okay, what does that mean?
I think that's the key lens for today. It means people aren't just keeping pets anymore. They're not just throwing some iceberg lettuce in a cage and hoping for the best.
Right.
These new owners are becoming basically amateur zookeepers and biologists in their own homes. They demand the science, they crave the complexity, and they're willing to pay for it.
So that is our mission today. We are going to unpack what that professionalization actually looks like. We'll look at the animals of 2026. We're going to dive into the mind-blowing tech, including AI, that is changing how we understand these animals.
And then the reality check.
Exactly, the reality check. Because bringing a cloud forest into your living room comes with some serious logistical and legal landmines.
And we've got a really diverse stack of sources for this. We've got strategic market analyses from this month, veterinary guides, legal breakdowns of the Lacey Act, which is crucial right now, and these incredibly detailed care sheets.
Let's start with the biology then,
Okay.
because that's where the wow factor is. If you scroll through social media in 2026, there is one mammal that just seems to be everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
To the average person, it looks just like a hedgehog. But the sources are very clear. Do not call it a hedgehog. We are talking about the lesser hedgehog, Tenrec.
This is my favorite example of convergent evolution. The sources really hammer this home.
So it looks like a hedgehog, it acts like one, but isn't one.
Exactly. To the naked eye, it's a dead ringer for a pygmy hedgehog. Small, spiny, rolls into a ball. But genetically, they aren't even cousins. The Tenrec is part of a superorder called Afrotheria.
Afrotheria, which connects them to what, exactly?
This is the aha moment. It connects them to elephants, manatees, and aardvarks.
You're kidding.
Nope. You are essentially keeping a pocket-sized distant relative of an elephant. And because they evolved in isolation on Madagascar, their biology is totally unique.
And the lifespan is shocking.
Right. A hamster gives you 2 years, a pygmy hedgehog maybe 4 or 5, a Tenrec, you are looking at a 15 to 19-year commitment.
That's not a pet, that's a dependent. That's a huge chunk of your adult life.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about an animal that could see a child from kindergarten all the way through college graduation.
And there's this one detail in the care guides about handling them that really stood out. They said new owners often think the animal is sick or dying because of how it feels to the touch.
Yes, they feel cold.
They do.
It's a physiological quirk that catches everyone off guard. They have one of the lowest resting body temperatures of any mammal, around 75 degrees Fahrenheit.
So when you pick one up,
Yeah.
you don't get that warm, fuzzy feeling.
No, they feel cool, almost like a reptile. It just completely short-circuits your brain's expectation of what a mammal should feel like.
And their behavior is totally different too, right?
Yeah.
Because hedgehogs are strictly ground dwellers. They just kind of shuffle around.
Completely different. Tenrecs are semi-arboreal, they're climbers, they need height, they need branches, they're incredibly strong.
So this is where that professionalization thing kicks in again.
It is. You can't just keep them warm and fed year-round. In the winter, their biology demands a cycle called torpor.
Which is like hibernation, but different.
It's similar, yeah. Think of it as a deep metabolic depression. If you don't manage that cycle, if you don't adjust the light and temperature in your home to mimic a Madagascar winter, you compromise their health long term.
So you're managing a seasonal biological rhythm in your spare bedroom,
You're an amateur climatologist.
and the market reflects that. They're trading for what, between $490 and $700?
Yeah, a steep entry price.
Okay, so let's flip the script. Let's say you are that urban professional. You work 60 hours a week, you want something unique, but you can't manage a 19-year commitment or a complex hibernation cycle.
Right.
The sources point to the other end of the spectrum, something that sounds like a heavy metal band, the Blue Death Feigning Beetle.
The ultimate low-maintenance pet. It's the perfect counterbalance to the Tenrec. These are little biological tanks from the Sonoran and Mojave deserts.
I love that. Let's break down the blue part. It's not just color, it's an adaptation, right?
Exactly. It's basically biological sunscreen. They secrete this powdery blue wax that coats their exoskeleton. It locks in moisture and reflects the harsh desert sun.
So the wax is a health indicator.
It is. If the beetle gets wet or stressed, the wax wears off and they turn black. When it's healthy, it's that striking powder blue.
And the death feigning part, it's literal.
Oh, it's completely literal. It's their primary defense. They don't have wings, so they can't fly away. If you startle them, they just drop. They go rigid, play dead.
And they're committed to the bit.
Totally. You can roll them over. They won't move an inch until they feel safe.
And despite being an insect, they have this incredibly long lifespan.
That's the real anomaly. They can live up to 10 years. For a bug, that is practically immortality. And the husbandry is just so simple.
What, they can't climb glass?
Can't climb smooth glass, so no need for a heavy lid. They eat dog food, dried shrimp, a piece of carrot. It's the closest thing to a plug-and-play exotic you can find.
So you've got the Tenrec for the dedicated biologist and the beetle for the busy observer. But I want to move to the part of the sources that has the most visual wow factor. We have to talk about reptiles. The living jewels.
Yes.
There's one lizard that the sources describe as a dragon, straight out of a fantasy novel. The Mexican alligator lizard.
Abronia Graminia. This is the crown jewel for 2026. But I have to stress, the sources categorize this as for the advanced keeper only.
And when you see a photo, you get it.
Oh, you get it. They're emerald green, incredible scale texture, and a prehensile tail that wraps around branches like a monkey's. They live like 130 feet up in the canopy of cloud forests in Mexico.
But this is where that professionalization hits a wall of difficulty. The sources warn about something called the color quirk.
It's a direct visual biofeedback loop.
So owning one is one thing, but keeping them green is the real challenge.
It really is. In the wild, they get that brilliant color from the specific UV and diet. In captivity, without incredible high-quality UV lighting, they fade. They turn this grayish teal color.
So if your lizard isn't green, it's a billboard saying your husbandry is wrong.
It's a check engine light on the animal itself.
And the husbandry sounds like an engineering nightmare. Replicating a cloud forest means high humidity, right?
Yes, 60 to 80%. But, and this is the killer nuance, they need high ventilation.
Wait, how does that work?
If you put them in a standard glass tank, the air stagnates, bacteria grows, and they get respiratory infections. They need screen cages. But then, how do you keep humidity high in a screen cage?
That sounds like a physics paradox.
It practically is. You need live plants like bromeliads to hold moisture. You need automated misting systems. And on top of that, you need a temperature drop at night. A big one.
How big?
You need to drop their tank down to 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
So you're cooling your house while misting it, while blasting it with UV light.
And they don't even drink from bowls.
What?
No, they drink water droplets off leaves. They'll dehydrate next to a full water dish because they don't recognize it as a drink source.
It just reinforces that idea that you're not buying a pet. You're building an ecosystem.
He's becoming a climate engineer. Exactly.
There's another reptile mentioned on the opposite end of the size scale, but with a heavy ethical weight. The Union Island gecko.
The microgeckos, critically endangered. They're described as gem-like, these intense colors. But the key takeaway here is the ethics. The sources are very clear. Conservation through cultivation.
Meaning you should only ever own one if it comes from a captive breeder.
Strictly captive breeding only. Taking one from the wild is devastating. And for the owner, this is a look but don't touch animal. They're tiny, fragile. It's an observational hobby, like a fish tank with a tiny, precious reptile inside.
So we've established the biology is complex, the husbandry is demanding. This leads us right into the next major theme for 2026, the tech revolution.
Right.
It's not just heat lamps anymore. The sources are talking about AI and bioacoustics, changing how we interact with these animals.
This is where science fiction becomes reality. We're seeing AI integrated into daily husbandry. There's a system mentioned called Reptilearn. It uses computer vision to monitor reptile cognition and stress levels.
Hold on, how does an AI know if a lizard is stressed?
It tracks micro behaviors that humans miss, tiny changes in skin color, the frequency of tongue flicks, pacing patterns. It aggregates all this data to give you a profile of the animal's mind, not just its environment. It can tell you, hey, your lizard is bored.
That is wild, because for decades, the wisdom was that reptiles were just reactive, like little biological robots.
Exactly. Heat them up, they eat, cooling them down, they sleep. But this tech suggests they have complex psychological needs.
And the science backs that up.
It does. It goes beyond reptiles.
Yeah.
There's a 2025 Nature study referenced in our stack about parrots that is just mind-blowing. It found functional vocal motor mapping in their brains that's comparable to human speech centers.
So when a parrot talks, it's not just parroting, it's not mindless mimicry.
The science suggests it's much more neurologically grounded than we ever thought. They're using language-like structures, and this has led to new enrichment tools using audio language models.
AI chatbots.
Basically, yeah, AI chatbots to interact with intelligent exotics like bush babies.
Wait, you have an AI talking to a bush baby?
Essentially, yes. Intelligent animals get bored, and boredom leads to stereotypic behaviors, pacing, self-harm. These AI tools provide dynamic cognitive challenges using sound and puzzles to keep their brain active. It shifts the whole paradigm from keeping an animal alive to engaging with a sentient being.
That's a profound shift.
Yeah.
But I think we have to drop the other shoe here. We have these high-tech tools, these amazing animals, but do we have the infrastructure to actually care for them? The sources highlight a massive veterinary bottleneck.
This is the sobering reality check. The stats are genuinely concerning.
Yeah.
In the UK, out of 25,000 vets, there are only about 40 recognized specialists in zoo and wildlife medicine.
40.
40. The ratio is very similar in the US.
So if your Tenrec gets sick or your alligator lizard has a problem,
We may be driving hundreds of miles, and you are going to pay a premium. Routine consults can exceed $200 easily, and that's before any diagnostics or treatment.
this isn't like taking your dog down the street for a checkup.
Not at all. You're entering a specialized medical field.
And some of these animals are so high maintenance in ways social media just leaves out, like the capybara videos. They look so chill.
The viral fame trap? Yes, capybaras are chill. They are also 100-pound rodents. The sources are blunt about the logistics, they're semi-aquatic, and they defecate in the water.
Oh.
Yeah.
That changes the plumbing requirements.
It does. You don't just need a pool. You need a swimming pond with industrial-grade filtration. Otherwise, you're living in a sewage hazard. Plus, they're herd animals. You can't have just one.
So your chill pet is suddenly a massive, expensive landscaping project.
Exactly.
Even the smaller ones have these hidden costs. The axolotl is a prime example.
Oh, yeah. People see them and think tropical fish, so they buy a heater. But axolotls are from high-altitude lakes. They need cold water, 60 to 64 degrees.
So if your house is a comfortable 72 degrees,
The axolotl is stressed and sick. You don't need a heater. You need an expensive chiller, which is basically a refrigerator for your fish tank.
and what about this term the sources used? Biosecure enrichment.
It connects back to the ecosystem idea. In a high-humidity tank, you can't just throw a cardboard box in for a hide.
It'll grow mold.
Toxic mold in like 24 hours. So enrichment involves a whole soak and sanitize cycle. You have to disinfect everything, dry it completely, and rotate it. It's a constant hygiene protocol.
So, okay, the barriers to entry. You need money, engineering skills, time for maintenance, and access to a specialist vet. But there's one more barrier that's becoming the toughest one. The law.
It is, and this is the part that catches people out. If you own an exotic pet, you need to pay very close attention to the recent changes in the Lacey Act in the U.S.
A federal law? What changed?
It used to prohibit the shipment of certain species. Now the language has been interpreted to prohibit transport between states.
Shipment versus transport. That sounds like a tiny semantic change.
It sounds small, but the legal consequence is huge. Shipment implies commerce selling. Transport applies to any movement.
So let's play that out. I live in New York. My specialist vet is in New Jersey. My lizard gets sick.
You cannot legally drive that animal to the vet. You would be breaking federal law by crossing the state line. It traps owners in their jurisdiction.
And it's not just the U.S. The EU updated their lists recently, too.
Yeah. In August 2025, the invasive alien species list, they banned 114 species, including things that were really common in the trade, like Siberian chipmunks.
which creates what the sources call the grandfathered trap.
Right. If you already own the animal, you can usually keep it. You're grandfathered in. But because of the transport bans, if you get a job offer in another state, you cannot take your pet with you. You have to choose.
That's heartbreaking. It turns the pet into an anchor.
It does. You have to be a legal scholar as much as a biologist now. You have to know the lists and anticipate future bans.
So what does this all mean, big picture? We've gone from elephant-related Tenrecs and death feigning beetles to AI-monitored lizards and federal laws. It feels like the era of the casual exotic pet owner is just over.
I think that's the key takeaway. The market is growing, remember that $16 billion figure, but it is maturing. We're seeing the humanization of exotics. We treat them as family members, not just curiosities.
And that requires the premiumization of care.
Better food, better tech, better habitats. We're not just keeping them in boxes. We're trying to give them thriving lives. It's a shift from possession to active stewardship.
Which leads to a final thought I want to leave our listener with. We are seeing this massive shift toward citizen science. Private keepers are the ones breeding these rare geckos, keeping detailed data that universities don't have the funding for. But at the same time, laws are tightening. This whitelist philosophy, where everything is banned unless it's specifically allowed, is growing globally.
It raises a massive question for the future of conservation, doesn't it?
It does. Are we moving toward a world where only licensed institutions, like zoos, can keep these animals?
Yeah.
Or will the private hobbyist, the person with the high-tech setup in their living room, become the ark that saves them from extinction?
That is the question.
And the answer might depend on how responsible we all are today. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.
See you next time.